It was sold as the clean, guilt-free way to drive. Powerful, efficient, and green, all at the same time. It was all built on a lie. And that lie would help kill an entire fuel. This is the diesel deception. To understand the fall, you first have to understand the rise. In the 1890s, a German engineer had a radical idea. His name was Rudolf Diesel. Diesel dreamed of an engine that would waste almost nothing. At the time, steam engines threw away most of their energy as heat. He patented his new engine in 1892. By 1897, he had a working engine running. It was far more efficient than the gasoline engines of its day, and it could run on heavier, cheaper fuel. Then, in 1913, the inventor himself vanished. Rudolf Diesel disappeared overboard from a ship crossing the English Channel. His death remains a mystery to this day, but the engine he left behind would reshape the world. For a century, diesel powered the heavy world. It drove the trucks, the buses, and the great ocean ships. It quietly became the engine of global trade. It pulled trains across entire continents. It turned the tractors that worked the land. It hauled ore out of the deepest mines. It powered the machines that built modern cities. And it spun the generators that kept the lights on. For a long time, diesel was the workhorse of the road. Diesel engines burned their fuel more efficiently than gasoline engines. They squeezed more energy out of every drop. That meant more miles from every tank. And more miles meant less carbon dioxide per kilometer. Diesel engines also delivered enormous pulling power at low speeds. That torque made them feel effortless on the open road. Engineers prized them for torque, durability, and fuel economy. In Europe, that idea took hold like nowhere else. From the 1990s onward, tax policies made diesel fuel cheaper. At the pump, diesel simply cost less to burn. Diesel was promoted as a cleaner, low-carbon alternative to gasoline. Governments praised it as a climate-friendly choice. By the 2000s, about half of all new cars sold in Europe were diesels. Automakers gave it a new name: clean diesel. It was marketed as the responsible choice, the smart choice, for drivers who cared about the planet. In showroom after showroom, diesel became the default choice. And one company pushed that promise harder than anyone else. Volkswagen bet its future on clean diesel. Especially in the United States, where diesel cars were still rare. Their message was simple and seductive. Low emissions, with no loss of performance. You could go fast, go far, and still feel good about it. The advertising was everywhere. Clean, green, and guilt-free. Buyers believed it, and they bought in by the millions. But there was a catch hidden deep inside the engine. A truth the marketing never mentioned. Diesel engines produce a pollutant called nitrogen oxides. Scientists call it NOx. It is harmful to human lungs. It worsens asthma, and damages the air we all breathe. Diesels also release fine particulates, tiny specks of soot. These particles lodge deep inside the lungs. Studies linked them to lung disease and premature death. Pollution from diesel was quietly shortening lives. Regulators set strict legal limits on how much a car could emit. And here was the problem Volkswagen could not solve. Meeting those limits usually meant hurting performance. A truly clean diesel felt weaker, and used more fuel. But weak, thirsty cars do not sell a dream. The engineers were trapped between the law and the promise. So instead of solving the problem, they decided to hide it. The answer was written in software. Volkswagen installed secret code called a defeat device. A hidden switch, buried in the brain of the car. It was a program designed to cheat the emissions test. The software could sense when a car was being tested. The steady speeds, the rollers, the lab conditions. It detected a test, it switched on full pollution controls. On the machine, the car looked perfectly clean. But out on the open road, the software flipped. It switched the controls back off to boost performance. And the pollution came pouring out. On the road, these cars emitted far more than the law allowed. Up to 40 times the legal limit of NOx. 40 times. Not in a lab, but in the air people breathe. Millions of clean diesels were quietly poisoning the sky. And for years, no one on the outside knew. The lie held, because the tests said everything was fine. Until a small group of researchers decided to check. The researchers came from a small American university. They fitted the cars with portable emissions gear. They tested the cars not in a lab, but on real roads. Then they simply drove, mile after mile, watching the readings climb. And the numbers made no sense at all. In the lab, clean. On the road, filthy. The findings reached the United States regulators. And in September 2015, the truth broke open. The Environmental Protection Agency publicly accused Volkswagen. The company had cheated emissions tests on purpose. At first, the scale was unclear. Then it grew, and grew. Soon Volkswagen admitted the shocking number. About 11 million cars worldwide carried the device. Spread across 3 continents and countless owners. Not just Volkswagen. Also Audi, and even Porsche. 11 million lies, sold to trusting drivers. The story exploded across the world's headlines. Around the world, the word dieselgate entered the language. Volkswagen's stock collapsed within days. The most trusted name in engineering had been caught cheating. Then came the reckoning, and it was enormous. The fallout cost Volkswagen more than $30 billion. In fines, in settlements, and in recalls. In the United States alone, it agreed to pay billions. A civil settlement of $14.7 billion. And a criminal penalty of $4.3 billion. Around the world, millions of cars were recalled to be fixed. The fixes often left cars weaker or thirstier than before. Owners felt cheated by a badge they had trusted. At the top, heads began to roll. Chief Executive Martin Winterkorn resigned. Executives were charged for their part in the scheme. The proud giant had been humbled by its own software. But the deepest damage was not measured in dollars. The scandal shattered public trust in diesel itself. If the champion had lied, who could be believed? Across Europe, the backlash was swift and brutal. Cities moved to restrict, or ban, diesel cars outright. In Paris, leaders vowed to push old diesels off the streets. London built an ultra-low emission zone across the city. Older diesels now faced fees, limits, and outright bans. Low-emission zones spread from capital to capital. And buyers simply walked away. Diesel resale values sank like a stone. Diesel's share of new car sales fell off a cliff. What had been sold as the clean future of driving turned toxic. Toxic in the air, and toxic as a brand. The word diesel no longer meant responsible. It meant deception. And here is the twist that history will remember. The collapse of diesel did not just leave a hole. It cleared the road for something else entirely. The industry and governments needed a new clean promise. This time, one they could actually keep. Automakers felt burned, and buyers no longer trusted them. So they poured their money into electric vehicles. One by one, they announced the end of the combustion engine. So they accelerated the shift to electric cars. The clean promise moved from the fuel tank to the battery. Billions that might have gone to diesel now flowed to batteries. Whole model lineups were promised to go fully electric. Policies that once favored diesel now favored the electric motor. In trying to defend the old engine with a lie, the industry helped hand the future to the electric car. Think about what that really means. Diesel did not die because it failed as a machine. As an engine, it was efficient, durable, and strong. It died because the trust behind it was broken. A single lie did what no engineering flaw ever could. It poisoned the reputation of an entire fuel. For over 100 years, diesel had carried the modern world. Now its name was a warning, not a promise. Even after the fines, the damage to trust never fully healed. The road that diesel built now belonged to another machine. One deception, and the clean diesel dream was dead. And it pushed the whole world one step closer to electric. This is a gasoline ghost story to its core. A fuel that rose on a promise, and fell on a lie. The machines rise, they rule, and they fall. But diesel's fall was different. It was a fall from grace. A reminder that trust, once broken, does not come back. The clean future did arrive, just not the way they promised. And the age of diesel quietly slipped into history. Remember, not for its power, but for its betrayal. Thanks for watching. If this story moved you, subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.